Oh, I thought he was being funny. Why you talking shit?
Decamp marker. Try again.
We call him Little Spill. Little Spielberg.
And then
Little Spielberg.
action.
All right, so before we officially get into this, I want to give everybody a little backdrop on who we have here, what we have here, what's going on here, and what's been going on. We got my brother Zach Skow, the Zach Skow, and I'm not putting tens on it. He's that guy. We got Brian James, Free Bliss, my brother, two of my brothers right here, and a backdrop of how this came about and where we're at right now. So my brother went out, and did something amazing, did something extremely daring, trusted people that he doesn't know with his dogs. And we know how people love their dogs. I guess he must have sat down one day and said, hey, I'm going to go take some dogs into a prison and give them to some killers. And we're going to see what's going to happen. And that goes to, faith over fear. Because you have to be fearless to go into that environment. You have to be a fearless individual and have some type of blind faith to say, all right, I'm going to trust these dudes to give them a chance when nobody else wants to give any of us a chance, especially us. They looked and they said, give these guys solitary confinement, shoe inmates, kick out yards, dogs. And the major statement was, why would we give the animals? It's coming around full circle and you get to see the progress. You get to see, sometimes you have to deal with the heartache, then you have the pain, then you have the turmoil, and then you go through the rain again. And then after the rain, you might have another rain spell, and then the sun comes out. So this is you seeing the clouds moving and the sun shining through on life, brotherhood, friendship, family, taking care of the dogs, animals in general, equality over power. So without further ado, we got Mr. Zach Skow in the house.
Let's go, man. Yeah. This is about as full fucking circle as it gets, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is about as my brain is having a hard time fucking processing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, completely. It's a fucking...
Yeah, I know.
This is the joy.
It's such a trip, bro.
What is your ultimate freedom? What's the ultimate freedom? Where
bro, this is fucking bizarre.
For me, this moment is it's hard to even put words to it, I know what this moment is putting words to a story, but just the ties, the bonds, the emotions, the pain, the struggle that tie us together at this table right here, it's deeper than any relationship I've ever experienced in my life. We every time I see Zach, we look at each other like, holy, we've been postcards, letters, phone calls, pictures, I'm a former lifer inmate, so this wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah. But it was because of this program, specifically this Pawsitive Change program that entered into my life at the time that it did, is why I'm here today. I can say that with utmost confidence. I call Didontae my twin.
Yeah, that's
not only because we look so much alike, but because...
Shut your mouth.
We share, our dreams are identical, our hopes for life are identical, what we want in life are identical. Our
ability to articulate is identical, and that's something that's so important.
Yeah, our values. So that's why, I call him my twin. And
I mean, we're all sitting in a fucking podcast studio in Pasadena, whatever, Glendale, having a conversation... Wearing normal clothes. I'm wearing jeans, so I don't have to get kicked out for wearing jeans in prison. And
I still got blues, but
hammer times.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a picture of you. I've had a picture of you next to my bed at Corcoran for years, and I would look at that shit every time before I went to bed, and it would always make me like a little bit sad, a little bit nostalgic, but a lot of it motivated. And you're fucking sitting here.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there, bro.
Oh, yeah.
It blows me away, man. I mean, it is like the product of, this is probably the most full circle moment I've ever had in my life. Like sitting here with you two guys, two people that I spent a lot of time caring about and rooting for, and to get to see you guys, to see several aspects of like our collective dream coming to fruition, and get to see, you like your personality come alive outside, to get to be the person you need to be, and to watch people fall in love with you, man, and to watch people get to like, that's the most important thing about this whole studio is like nothing's going to change unless there's we reestablish what your identity is with society, and if society right now, we watch Lockup Raw, we watch all that shit, so we're all juxtaposed from the incarcerated population as those are the violent, bad people. We might have like a tacit respect for them, but we're not going to bring them into our lives,
Right.
So this is important for you guys to get out there and show people who you are and show people that you're just people. Everything that we all get to see for years, people don't know that. They almost need to have you guys in this like lower designated classification. So to be in a studio like this where you guys are giving, a voice to everybody here, it's just the best. Man.
From where it started in the most treacherous yard in California in Corcoran, the worst prison.
Yeah.
Walked into the day room, said, "Hi, my name is Zach."
Yeah.
No, he walked into the day room, and the correctional officer said, "Can we offer you a seat over here with us?" Where they were all standing there lined up, and he said, "Nah, I'm good. I'm gonna go over here with my people." And he went and shook everybody's hand, and instead of taking a seat, he sat down on the floor and on the benches with us.
He was wearing the moccasins that day.
I remember because my back was killing me.
Yeah.
My back hurt so bad.
That was. But before any of that, man, I know everybody says, thank you, but I'm saying thank you. No, I mean thank you in a sense of nobody believed in us.
Yeah.
Nobody believed in the program, anything like that until you came in. Like I said, I tell people, I didn't have a visit my entire prison term until Zach walked in the door.
That's nuts, man.
I hadn't seen my mother since I was keeping my entire prison term from 2006 all the way till I got out. I had not seen my mother.
Yeah, that's nuts, man.
Or family. So, you came in and you just embraced.
Let's paint the picture. So at the time, I think we'd had a program going for a year and a half at Cal City,
Brian,
North Kern,
don't you
Wasco.
Stop that. You don't start the waterworks now, goddammit. You save it, suck it up.
I think we just need to get it out now. We should probably hold hands and cry for a minute. So we'd been in a few spots for like a year and a half, and we were pushing. We kept pushing a bunch of different people to bring in the program. We kept reaching out, and we got a call from and Corcoran's one of the only prisons that people know about because it's notorious.
Charles Manson,
Exactly.
Sirhan,
all the people have been at Corcoran. So if there's one prison name that resonates with culturally, it's Corcoran, And they asked us to come there. I remember we had a tour. We had like a visitation, and they don't come right out and say it. They don't say, "Hey, are you sure you're cool with it's a dangerous ass place." Or I don't even think we knew the full breakdown of like a 180 yard compared to a 270 or a level 3 to a level 4. We just knew we wanted to be in as many prisons as possible, making the biggest difference we could. But walking into that place was a bit, first of all, it's a long ass drive. It's 3 hours to get there. So you're just sitting in the car getting amped up. And I remember driving up there being like so excited to get in and see you guys, but not really knowing what to expect. And I remember that. I remember being so fucking nervous, and I'm like, I can't. If I just go stand over here, I gotta go touch them and feel them and like go, offer myself up. I can't just. I'm not gonna stand over here while they stand over there.
Right.
But I remember even the way they had you guys set up was different. Everything we did there was a little bit different because of security. And there'd never been a level 4 dog program, much less a level 4 180 dog program. And like you said, everyone's coming from, it's a ad said kick out yard. People have been in the shoe for years. Everybody's kind of obviously, politicking pretty hard. And you feel it in there. You walk in that spot and you feel
the air is different.
Yeah.
The air, you feel it in the air. It's like, it's thick. The air is thick. It's the musk, the dirt is like, you just like, damn.
You feel it in your chest.
Like, did I walk
Whether
in?
real or imagined, there's always the threat of some form of violence in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And you really do. You almost have to try to breathe through it. But at the same time, if you bring childlike energy into that, if you bring like brotherhood into that, it thrives like just as much. You know what I mean? Because there's just this vacuum where it's just waiting for it, like waiting for something positive so that it can be built upon. And that's what happened. Like I remember you guys were a little skeptical. Everyone was kind of a little bit like, what the fuck's going on here? What is this going to be about? But then I remember when you guys started to get stoked, like when we start to come regularly, and I remember you guys started to get like, you brought your frequency up, you know, and both you guys started to get like excited,
We'd
more
be up
like
at 4 in the
playful.
morning, shaving, getting ready,
Yeah.
because like it was Wednesdays.
Yeah,
Wednesdays was our day, like
class.
Yeah, we lived for Wednesdays.
Before the program even came in, there was a individual that actually was backing you up. An individual she's one of the unsung heroes, Miss Bonita Weaver.
Yeah, Mrs. Weaver.
Yeah,
man.
Lieutenant Weaver.
Forced to be reckoned with.
People don't understand in a prison system how many forces are preventing positive work. You know what I'm saying? Like how many, and even just for a black woman to be within the higher ups of that bureaucratic structure,
Right.
And and I sat in on a couple meetings with her, and she was you could tell she was getting it from all angles,
Right.
But she was steadfast in her convictions, and she just kept. And if we didn't have Bonita Weaver supporting us, they would have pulled the plug
Right.
way before that, because you need an advocate. Just like in prison to run AA meetings, NA meetings, you got to have someone who's the nucleus in there, that shows up, that makes it happen, that's accountable for it. And Bonita was accountable for us.
Do you know what she did before the program even came? Like a little, just a smidget. So they had the yard, they had inmates on that yard. Then our yard, we were the shoe kickout yard. So they basically deemed us, they said, we will never give these guys any programs because based on their shoe kickouts, solitary confinement.
Worst of the worst.
We didn't have shit. Like we didn't have anything.
You're
on
not
the
getting
other yard.
utensils, much less
Yeah, we
dogs.
didn't get, I'm talking about anything. Like there was, like you can compare yards. Like the yard that she was on, it was a sensitive knee yard. Grass is perfect, pristine. They had workout equipment, as you see. All that. I'm talking about, where do you have workout equipment in the state of California? CDCR. You don't. They had everything. It's immaculate.
Yeah.
Then you look at our yard, grass overflown, laundry. Just, it looks like a ghost town. Nothing's being upkept. Everything's rusted and all beat up. Just water leaking everywhere. So the inmates that she had on her yard weren't acting right. She's like, you guys have all the programming, but yet you want to still act up. Okay, I got something for that. I bet you these guys will appreciate it. So she said, let's swap the yards. Give me the ones you guys say are just horrible. She swapped 1,000 inmates with 1,000 inmates in 2 days. Had us go over there
didn't know that.
and sent us. Yeah, she swapped an entire yard.
Just
literally
musical
packed our stuff and pushed
musical
it in
inmates.
carts.
So they went around through the visiting room gate. And we came around through the shoe yard, going through the back gate through R&R, and they were coming through the front R&R.
About 50 at a time.
50 at a time. 1,000 inmates in a 3-day period.
And people's heads must have been spinning.
They were like, no, she was that black bitch. That's what that black bitch went and did this. When the dogs came, that black bitch gave them the dogs.
They were mad.
They would say it. They would say it.
Yeah, man. She was something else. You know, and I always tried to give her as many props as I could when I saw her. Because I always felt like she was taking it, man. She was getting it from.
And remember, she used to come on her days off.
Yeah.
To check on the dogs and to see the
6
dogs
in the morning.
I remember seeing her in the parking lot without her uniform on and giving her a hug. Well, at first I didn't realize who she was. And then I realized it was her. Oh, Bonita, Miss Weaver, how are you?
Right.
Yeah.
And she made it to where she was accessible.
Yeah.
Like, you know, everybody else they're hiding and they're paying the politics of the job. We're just a check. She was like, all right, I recognize you guys as humans. She's not saying, hey, inmate this, hey, inmate that. Hey, well, this, that. She'll show up at your door. Hey, you up? When the dogs
When you
came,
get people like that, in positions of influence who care, it's all the difference in the world. We've worked at a lot of prisons, dealt with a lot of yards, a lot of different pods, a lot of different energies, a lot of different power structures. And when you got someone who brings a particular, I mean, she couldn't be soft. You know, she wasn't bringing like this soft, you know, comforting, motherly necessarily energy. She couldn't. She was like in the trenches. She had to be. She had to be like pretty hard. But she was an advocate.
Right, yeah.
You know?
If you're right and you got your stuff together,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you what you want. But if you're messing up, I'm gonna give you what you want there too.
And what people don't realize is just that little switch in your conscientiousness, in your perception, just to treat people with not just respect, but like believe in them, like that, because that's what she did. She believed in you guys. Just that little bit of belief. Like if you don't have that, you get what we have now, which is a bunch of people who don't believe in themselves and
And that's
act accordingly.
The discomfort that you described, like that's the root of it. Was, I know for me, and I know for him as well, because we've talked about it. Like, we're not accustomed to having people come in and give us like love and respect. It was the most uncomfortable feeling in the world when you came in. Yeah, when you say like the skepticism, like, why would you come into the pits of hell and want to do this for?
Oh, I'll tell you why, man. I mean, there's no better feeling in the world. I mean, for me, like as a person in recovery who doesn't get to drink or doesn't want to, doesn't need to, doesn't have to drink or use drugs anymore. Like I was seeking something to fill that up. And like the minute we got to go in and do Pawsitive Change and it's not the fact that I get out of prison. It's not the fact that I get to leave. It's the fact that your energy and something that came out of your brain and Lisa's brain and Leah's brain gets to I mean, you guys would leave differently. We would feel it. We'd walk into that gym and we could feel everyone's energy go up. We could feel your hearts fill up. We could feel your hope, like they're from zero hope to manageable, measurable hope, and to get to just me. And I feel shitty about myself in so many different ways. It's always a struggle to try to see the worth in myself, but that's how I hate to say it. And maybe it's like a sign of, I don't want to say poor character, but not thinking very highly of myself, but that did it for me. Like getting to go in there and just be myself and have it affect you guys so positively. That is all I need. It's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, I remember you saying that consistently, like throughout the program, like you don't know what you guys give me. And I'm like,
all of us, we would sit there in the parking lot after class and we would all talk about, man, did you see Brian in there? You see how his fucking leash technique was like perfect. You see how loose and like, we would get so fired up, like so happy, so excited. And there's no buzz like the post Pawsitive Change buzz after leaving all you guys, seeing and feeling your progress. I mean, there's something about, plus you guys, there's no difference between me and you. There's zero difference. And I think a big part of maybe some of it was like, feeling maybe a little bit, self-conscious that I didn't experience things like that. I'd done a lot of bad things in my life and I didn't get caught up like that. And, just feeling like I got off easy, in many ways. So wanting to give back to people who were just like me, who didn't get off very easily. Because I'm just a drug addict, alcoholic who happened to kind of stumble into this. I'm lucky. I'm extremely lucky. And I don't know. It's kind of, it's my purpose in life to try to provide something like that for you guys.
Can we start there? You want to start there?
That's
how did you get into the dog program? Like the thought, giving birth in your mind. Where were you at?
So the dog program in particular. So Marley's. We can back up too.
Before that, what was your first experience with dogs?
Yeah.
That made you say, this is my calling?
Yeah. So, I don't know. I've always had a busy mind. I've always had a brain that didn't feel so highly of myself. I always felt I was different. I always felt I was really different. Maybe like the thoughts in my mind were different. The negative thoughts in my mind were different. And we had a dog that I found when I was like 8 named Speck. I found him walking home from school. And I took that dog everywhere with me. Always had, off leash with my skateboard, and like whenever I go to my dad's house, tennis racket, skateboard, and that dog, and we just ride around to different parks, messing around, and that relationship with that dog, that was when I felt like myself. Like I felt my highest sense of identity was after spending remember spending a whole summer with that dog essentially, and that solidified my bond with dogs, and then we just had them in our lives ever since. But obviously then then the circumstances around Marley's Mutts happened, which was, let me back up. I started working in animal welfare in 2002. Mm-hmm. And it was because I had a school reunion coming up, and I was a piece of shit. And I had nothing to show for my life. And I had my best friend was my brother had 2 master's degrees. All my other best friends were accomplished, had all these things. And what am I doing?
Living a surfer life.
No, I wasn't even doing that. I didn't even surf when I was addicted. I was like just professional piece of shit, you know? So I'm like, what am I going to say at this reunion? I'm like, oh, and I loved animals. So I'm like, well, I'm going to start working with the Humane Society. I'll tell people I work for the Humane Society. Voila.
So what started off as a flex.
Oh, it was a straight, like, complete egomaniac flex to try to fill, you know, to try to be able to tell people I was doing something productive when I was just really a dedicated piece of shit. So I started working with the Humane Society and a couple other local organizations. And I was good at it and I loved it. And this was just basic rehabilitation. I go on go to the shelter with them. We'd go to different stray calls. We'd do different like fostering stuff. So it was just light fostering, 1 dog, maybe 2 dogs, going to events, doing things like that, you know. And then I got sick a couple of years later, and you know, went into acute alcoholic liver failure, you know. And I mean, if you guys want me to, I can kind of go into the whole story, but
Please do.
yeah. So, oh fuck, let me give a somewhat of an abbreviated version. So I went into liver. So in March, April, May, 2008, I had been turning yellow. I had started to turn yellow. My stomach started to get real big. I started to have problems with my brain, like not understanding what was happening to me. I went to they didn't tell anybody, and I went to the doctor, and the nurse came out the next day. I had to go back in for my results the next day, and she comes out and sits next to me, and she like grabs my hand, and she's like, honey, you know, you're in liver failure, and that's what these numbers mean. And I'm like, oh, no, you don't understand. I just got hammered last night. Like, that's all it was. The numbers are just showing that I got, she's like, no, that's not the way it works. Like, these numbers mean your liver doesn't work and your kidneys are failing and we got all these issues. And then she's like, you need to go to a hospital immediately. Like, you know, you're very ill. And I was like, okay, you know, and I just lied. I just couldn't tell anybody that. I knew that meant no alcohol, no drugs. I knew that meant my life was over. I knew that I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't cope with I couldn't fight that. Like, what am I going to do? I was weak. I was mentally weak, spiritually weak. You know, I'd been physically addicted to alcohol for 10 years prior to that. So, I mean, I couldn't go 3 hours without drinking, you know? So I just lied. I just went home and, you know, I just lied about it and said, no, I'm fine. Oh, and I told them, they recommended wine and no hard alcohol. You know, that's what I told my dad. I'm like, oh, they said me to drink wine, and
So
you full of shit. Completely lied.
Day one, just in denial.
Just lied. Yeah, I mean, and I just wrote it until the wheels fell off. I wrote it for like a couple more months, and by this point, like I'm having these bouts of ammonia buildup on my brain where you kind of like lose it. You know, you can't tie your shoe. You don't know what day it is. Like and I'm also like my belly button herniated, so I'm fucking taping my belly button to my stomach because I got this big ass pregnant belly, and this thing's sticking out of looking like a little boner. And so I'm every morning taping this fucking my herniated stomach.
Zach still with a sense of humor. In the middle of the darkest moment.
But like, rather than tell anyone that this is what's really going on, I'm just wearing shades, long sleeve shirts, so you can't tell I'm yellow. And then finally, man, I was just leaking blood, you know, out of my mouth, out of my butt. And by that point, like, there's no hiding it. You know, you're really sick. And I told my dad, I was like, hey, man, this is what's going on. And he kind of didn't believe it, but then he started going with me to this appointment, and then the reality hit, and then they checked me into the hospital. And I don't remember. I went through alcohol withdrawal immediately. I don't remember like 5 or 6 days. The first 5 or 6 days I was in the hospital, I have no recollection. So I was going into kidney failure, full-on liver failure. So they checked me into the hospital, into Bakersfield Memorial immediately for long-term care. They run a bunch of tests, hooked me up to I'm getting frozen blood to try to lower what happens when you're in liver failure is your blood is so thin that you won't clot. You have all these problems because your blood is just crazy thin.
Yeah.
And then the doctor came in, and he was sitting right next to my bed and talking to my dad, and he just said, look, your son needs a liver transplant and he's not going to get one, you know? So the reality is, you know, he's very, very sick. The only thing that's going to save him is a liver transplant, and he's an alcoholic. Therefore, he's not going to get one. He needs 6 months of sobriety to even qualify. and he's not going to survive 6 months. So they gave me less than 90 days to live. They basically said, get your affairs in order. We'll try to keep you comfortable. At that time too, it was the pain management scale. If you ever been to a hospital at the time,
1 to 10.
yeah, it was a smiley face scale.
Yeah.
And back then I was vacillating between like coherent and not making any sense at all. And I was a drug addict. So, you point at they have the smiley face, the straight face, the frowny face, and then the fucking teary. I'm pointing at the teary face every time. Give it to me,
Right.
So I got addicted. As soon as I woke up and came like out of alcohol withdrawal, which I should have been proud of. Like it'd been more than a decade that I hadn't been like gripped by that monster,
Were you acknowledging at that point that you were an addict, or were you
Oh yeah.
still in denial?
I knew from the time I was 18 that I was an alcoholic and a drug addict. I knew it, and I was proud of it. Remember the Alcoholics,
Yeah.
the group? Like I was proud.
Oh, I thought you said remember like being
No,
Alcoholics
the rappers,
Anonymous.
like-
I was one of those alcoholics in NAAA with a bottle of drinks.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the alcoholics.
I always drank it. The
licks.
Yeah, I mean, I was proud of it, and I identified that way, and I think probably it helped me continue on my, that path. But yeah, I mean, long story short, I needed a liver transplant to survive. I wasn't going to get one. I spent 6 weeks at that hospital, almost 6 weeks there, just getting sicker and sicker, and every 3 hours I'm getting dope. And by that time, they got a lady assigned to me because I was combative with all the staff, and I'm in a wheelchair, wheeling up to nurses trying to get them to dope me up. And I was a
Raging Lieutenant Dan.
bro. I was
Lieutenant
I was
Dan.
not. And then they give you this person. They don't tell you like, oh, we're assigning this human being to you because you're a danger to yourself and others. And luckily, I got to go back and like apologize to her 2 years later because I was ruthless to her. Ruthless. I mean, she's got to go with you to the bathroom, to the shower, to all that stuff. But yeah, long story short, I needed a liver transplant. They didn't do liver transplants at the hospital. They didn't do liver transplants for anyone. Unless you're 6 months sober and unless you meet a bunch of criteria, you're not eligible. So I had to get into a transplant hospital and there was no way to do that. So my dad, the big story in all this that I would love to make you guys cry over. No, don't make me cry. Is like the love, the big like underlying theme to all this is the love of a father to his son. Is my dad his brain wouldn't comprehend, wouldn't accept that his son was going to die of liver failure. He just wouldn't do it. So he's an engineer too. So he's an aeronautical engineer. He just sets his mind to figuring out this equation, this complicated equation with all these factors. So he's just on the phone every day. He's staying with me every day at the hospital. My mom came out and visited once from St. Louis. My brother came up a couple times. Some of my friends came up, but for the most part, it was just me and my dad. And he was not going to. This was not how I was going to die. Just period. And after they tried to kick me out and send me home on hospice, the insurance company was basically saying, we can't keep
they
him
already
here.
Signed off on you. Like
This is too expensive. He's not gonna get better. So he's only going to get worse. And he should just be home with his family and his dogs. And that should be where we can provide him then like a home palliative care kind of a thing. But my dad wouldn't say no. And what ended up happening was we got a meeting with the comprehensive transplant program at Cedars, which is where I was born. So I was born at Cedars-Sinai. I have a twin brother. We were a couple months premature. We actually spent several months there after we were born. So all of a sudden we got this meeting at Cedars-Sinai. So my dad's like, pull all the shit out of him. We're leaving. And they're like, no, you're not leaving. You can't fucking leave here. Like we highly advise against you leaving. And my dad's like, we're leaving, so pull all the shit out of his arms. We're leaving. And they brought a bunch of, and I remember they like followed us to the front where my dad's and I'm signing all this shit, like just scribbling on stacks of paper so that we can get out of the hospital. And we just boned out as fast as we could. I thought my mom was going to kill me driving to Cedars from Bakersfield. And we got there and had a meeting with the comprehensive transplant program. I remember it was 3 badass female doctors led by Dr. Tran. And she kind of sat me down and said, look, like this is really close. Like we normally would admit you, we would bring you into the hospital, but if we take you in, you're going to die here. And so we're going to send you home. We're going to admit you to the program. You are now a comprehensive transplant patient. but you can't stay here. We're going to send you home. Stay near an emergency room because you're going to need it. And my dad's like, pardon me? What? You're sending this fool home with me and the dogs? Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to what am I supposed to do with a 28, 29 now? I turned 29 in the hospital. With a 29-year-old drug addict, alcoholic, and liver failure. What am I supposed to do with that? And they just said, look, stay near an emergency room. Try to ride it out. If you can survive 6 months, he'll get his transplant. And so we fucking went home. And we went home, and I started to go into withdrawal. And my dad didn't know the game. Like, he didn't know how to protect me from myself. So, and I was in so much pain. I looked so sick. I might have got like 5 or 6 emergency room trips out of him. And then he was on to me. And then he's just like, all right, you're riding it out. So then I had to ride it out and go through a couple days of opiate withdrawal. By that point, I'd been on fucking Dilaudid for, 2 months. And,
that Dilaudid almost got me in the
Man.
ICU. 6 days in the ICU off Dilaudid. On that 7th day, I said, I see why people are addicted to this.
It gets you so quick, man.
Turns your spine to jelly. All the pain goes away.
All of it.
Everything goes immediately straight to the vein. It's done.
I had no coping skills.
Right.
So that was a wonderfully convenient coping skill, So I just remember, man, I had Marley, my big Rottweiler pit bull, underneath my right arm. And I was...
Who, by the way, was center of my cell.
Yeah.
Sent me the picture for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Said, I love you, brother, Zach Skow. Yeah.
I love it.
For years
I love
on my
it.
wall.
I didn't know it was on your wall. That's great. Yeah. So that was my big boy. And man, I was seeing, demons on fire in the ceiling and blood pouring down the wall, screams. I was just hearing screams. It was a terrible experience. I don't know if it was worse because I was so fragile. I was so sick. I was 140 pounds. I was like skinny. When you lay in a bed, your muscles atrophy. So my muscles had atrophy. I had a hard time walking. I was leaking blood out my butt. There's all these problems, and Marley, man, every time I'd start to like go into this really dark, scary, I would just feel that boy, and I could feel his like chest breathing, like, oh, thank fucking God, like you're here, like just rooting me, And we got through that shit. It was really challenging. My dad would kind of check in on me. He'd clean the bed because I was losing my bowels. He'd clean the bed for me or pull the sheets off and shit. And it was just kind of a waiting game. It was just him trying to stay out of my way because I was not fun to be around, Right. But he was trying to help, and we were just trying to survive, just trying to get there. And I couldn't really walk. So he had to do everything for me, and we just didn't know what was going to happen. But getting through that withdrawal was really important. And that kind of a couple days later, I had a real revelatory experience, the one that you guys were kind of referencing, which was just coming to one day, really wanting to kill myself. Like at that point, I didn't have control over anything. I couldn't do anything. I was terrible at everything. I'd obviously obliterated all my relationships. I didn't have control over physically what was happening to me. I didn't seem to have control over mentally what was all these dark thoughts. So the only thing I did have control of was like take my life. So I can control the circumstances of how I die. Mm-hmm. So I just kept obsessing about taking Tug out on this hike and like writing some shit. And then just like, at first I was trying to find a way to kill both of us. And then I'm like, why would I take Tug with me? Like, what the fuck is that? So I was just gonna, and I had all these different thoughts that I would obsess about. I think when you're really struggling mental health wise and you don't know where to put your thoughts, you end up putting all of your thoughts into your suicide story, like into what you want to do to get out. And so that was all that I thought about. And it finally broke. I was like looking in the mirror and I had this, looking at yourself, bro, when you're that fucked up, like, I don't know if you ever got that spun out where you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, oh my God, who is that person? Like, I didn't recognize anything about
I wouldn't look.
Sunken in. And my skin was all green and yellow and I had bruises everywhere. And bro, my stomach, it's called ascites, when your liver and your kidneys don't work, your blood, your hepatic duct is pushing all this blood and bile through your system. And when your liver doesn't work, it just backs up. It's supposed to filter through your liver. When it doesn't, it just ends up in your stomach.
Is that the same thing as being septic?
Yeah, so what'll happen is your ascites, it's just liquid. It's blood and bile that pools in your abdominal cavity. And when it goes septic, you die. Yeah. So there's all these ways they tell you you're going to die. When you're in liver failure, you die from septic ascites. So that mass of stuff gets infected. So what they do is they drain you. So I would get drained every 3 days with, it's called paracentesis. They stick a big ass, for some people who are big, they stick a needle in your stomach through the front and then pull it out. For me, they had a catheter below my rib cage. So they just cut a hole in me and stuck a tube in there and just, you could hear the vacuum and it just sucked all this. And they would put the vials in front of me, liters of this shit, just liters of stuff that they pull out of your body. And I'll never forget the doctor he put 3 of them as he's emptying them, like putting them in front of me. Like, this is all the shit I pulled out of your body. Like, this is what you've done to yourself, you know? And so there's and then the worst way to die is esophageal varices. So because your body isn't processing all this stuff and you have portal hypertension, you have high blood pressure, you have high blood pressure everywhere. So your veins become like varicose. And so the blood that's trying to get through your liver will literally find a way around and it will varicose the veins in your esophagus. So your esophagus will get these thick veins that want to burst and they can get agitated too from coughing and stuff like that. So and I've seen this with a sponsee who died bleeding out orally, and you just they will rupture and then you bleed out orally because your blood is so thin, it won't clot. The only way they can prevent it is they take a soldering iron and they literally burn the veins closed and the arteries closed in your throat. And I'm watching, like, my friend who passed away from this, his name was Sonny, and watching him literally like arterially bleeding out of his mouth. He's just having like spurts of blood coming out of his mouth. And then they bring in a crash cart and they burn his veins shut in his throat. And then he kind of like comes back and then he's talking to me afterwards with all this blood all over, like it had crusted up on his lips, all on both sides of his mouth. He ended up dying from that a couple days later. But that's how you die. That's where alcohol brings you when you die, you know?
And that's like, as you're speaking, like that's the irony of addiction. I have the same like terrible like withdrawal stories, abscesses, multiple like situations. Is you begin drinking, like running from pain, unwilling to accept pain, and at the end you're just in so much pain.
So much. Like an undescribable amount of all of it, self-loathing, built up trauma, all of it.
All the internal pain is there, and at the end, you're sitting here with the physical pain heaped on top of it.
Yeah, exactly, man. So, I mean that whole process. So that day, I'm having the worst feel sorry for myself moment ever, where like all I could think about was just. And my dad would leave and I'd go upstairs and get his gun and I'd just sit there with it like in my hand and kind of like feel it and I was like, it's happening today, and I fucking look over at my dogs and they're all sitting by the toilet because I spent so much time at the toilet. They knew like where to line up and they're all just kicking it like everything is beautiful. Like they're just happy to have me home. I've been gone at the hospital for a while. Thank God you're fucking back, Dad. Just wiggling, looking up at me like the sky's the limit. We can do anything in this world and you're fucking beautiful and you're just smart and intelligent and kind I hadn't seen myself or that version of me, like that person that I loved or that they loved. I didn't see that in me. I saw this piece of shit that deserved to be broken down into a million pieces. I just saw a worthless human being and they saw everything. They saw they're looking back at me like you are our whole fucking world. And you're just, it's impossible to look at that and not gather some self-worth and go, oh, all right, well, maybe these turds know what they're talking about, Yeah. And they blind you with that, not only acceptance, but their need for you. Like the sun rises and sets. Their sun rises and sets with you. And the idea of like taking that away from them didn't seem fair. And so I just kind of made this commitment, like, all right, let's give this a fucking shot. Let's just see what it's about. And that I just journaled that morning. It was like 3 a.m. when I got up I'd gone to the bathroom in bed and I had to clean it up. And so didn't go back to bed and we just journaled and I watched the sunrise and I took a picture of it. I still have the picture and just said, all right, like we're going to try to walk today. Just try to put one foot in front of the other and take the dogs for a walk and see what happens. And we did that like several times a day, every day for months. That was
Is this Marley?
Marley, Tug, and Buddy. Yeah, so Tug and Marley were from the Mojave shelter. Buddy is still alive. He's 20.
Wow.
My little Cocker Spaniel, he's 20 years old. Yeah.
20 years old.
20 years old, man. And there's those three. So I would take those three out. Marley was the only one that needed a leash because I couldn't walk. And actually back then I couldn't walk any of them on a leash. I had to have him off leash because if I was so fragile, I would get my ass kicked. If he pulled, I would fall over.
And they call him Tug, so I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, he did a little bit, but the main thing was, you don't have your balance. I didn't have any equilibrium back. I was your body's so fragile when you're in liver failure. There's so many things that go wrong with you, and so that day I was like, all right, we're gonna try this for the next however many months. We're gonna try to just live and try to put literally one foot in front of the other and see where it takes us. And really gave it up to God. Like I didn't know that at the time, but I was giving it up to them. I was giving it up to a power greater than myself, a power other than myself. And I didn't have I was still like relentlessly atheistic back then, which probably shows, like, look where I ended up. And yeah, they really kind of put me on that spiritual path. And then just also being out in the mountains, like this is a trip. One of the first, so I couldn't get very far. It was really hard for me to walk. And I had all these blisters on my feet. There was so many medicines that I was on. That was another big thing that Cedars did was they took me off all my medicine. They said, you're not
29
taking
right now, right?
I was 29 at the time. Yeah. They said, no more medicine. We're taking you off everything except the stuff that you absolutely need to keep you alive. So a lot of like this stuff drained out of my body through my feet. And I had blisters from the knees down all over my feet. So it was really challenging to walk. But it was like a month in, right around like November, and I'm going for a walk. It was bright and early in the morning, really early. So the sun was rising on our normal walk. And I see this shadowy figure. I was like, oh, fuck, that's a bear. Like, oh, God. Marley's going to run after him. I can't even hold the leash. Like, we're fucked. This is not going to work. And because they all queued up, they all just, and it turns out it was not a bear. It was this old man in a parka. It was really cold, and I'm bundled up too. When you're in liver failure, you get really, you're really sensitive to warm and cold. And so we approached this guy, and he's this little like 80-something-year-old man, and his name was Wen. His name was Wendell, but everyone called him Wen. And he didn't say anything about what I looked like. He didn't say, "Boy, you look like shit, man. What's wrong with you?" He just asked questions about the dogs. He just wanted to know, like, who's this one, who's that one, and we started walking. And at this point, I'm also still feeling like I might have been putting in an effort, but I still felt as sorry for myself as humanly possible. Like I was the way I could get something from you was sympathy. And that was how I was the whole last part of my addiction, alcoholism and addiction, was if I could make you feel adequately sorry for me, you would help me. You know what I mean? So I took that same approach to this guy, which was like this groveling body posture and like fucking just feel sorry for me person I'm just meeting so you can somehow help me. And he never said anything didn't ask me any questions about me. And I started asking him, like, what the fuck are you doing? It's 6 o'clock in the morning. We're in the wild and you're just by yourself, because it's honestly not that safe to be out there necessarily, especially that early. And he was like, well, for the last 3 years, I've been taking care of my wife who got a terminal cancer diagnosis, and she finally died 3 days ago. And we used to do this walk every day for 20 years. And this is the first time I'm doing it by myself. I'm like, holy shit, like I'm sitting here feeling as sorry for my fucking self as possible. This dude just lost the thing that matters most to him in this world. And he's fucking shoulders back, chin up, taking the walk anyway. He wasn't crying. He wasn't feeling sorry for himself. He was about it, Right. And I'm like, oh God, I guess I got to take a pill. I was like, will you walk with me? So we started doing that walk together quite often. He didn't know how to use a fucking cell phone. So it's not like I could just text him and be like, meet me on the path, But so we did that walk all the time. And he really like gave me that first bit of eminent wisdom to not walk around feeling sorry for myself and to really like chart your path, get out of your mind and move forward, And he ended up selling his house, buying an RV, and selling vitamins at old people homes for a living. Found this smoking hot, like 25 years younger. She was like 60, and married her, and then he died like 3 years later. You know, but like, what a baller! What a
He lived a fulfilled life.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because he didn't take a second to feel sorry for himself,
Go out with a bang.
he just was on, you know. And that was one of those people that I was really grateful to meet early
Today,
on.
how do you feel about yourself?
Oh man, I'll tell you what. When I'm by myself at my home, thinking about all the bullshit that's moving around, I sometimes go back there. I go back to that place of feeling sorry for myself, feeling less than. But when I'm with you guys and when I'm thinking about what we're doing and when I'm thinking about the bigger picture, I feel like a completely different human being. You know what I mean?
Before we move on, because I wanted to share this with you. I want to share this letter. So
I have so many. I have like tens of thousands of prison letter pages, and they're my prized possession.
these are the kids' homework.
Yeah.
So, the questions part of the curriculum and all that. And this is, if people don't know, Los Angeles County Probation paired up with Pawsitive Change from Marley.
Yeah.
The first ever in history to have a program like this.
We're running a dog program that you guys teach. That each one teach one model. You're back inside helping out the young bucks and charting a course for everybody.
So the author of this letter is what age?
Let's reflect on that for a minute. How fucking cool is it that we get to open up new prison programs that you guys teach? I know it's new. I know it's our first round, and we're graduating next Wednesday, right?
It should be probably the following. They want to do it in May.
Gotcha. So, but still, the fact that, and that's the whole model, is that, we go and we teach these classes. You guys learn a marketable skill that we desperately need on the outside. And then you go back inside and give it away. And that model, we are primed and ready to take this to the next level everywhere. And I'm sure get into that later. But when I get to tell people, when I get to explain what it is that we do, and that my boy gets to go into Camp Kilpatrick and educate, teach, and inspire young incarcerated men to deviate them from their current path of self-destruction and get them on the path of self-love, self-actualization, and reaching their potential. There's nothing more powerful than that. I just got done, being out of town. I told everybody about, and people are just like, you do what? You what? And I'm showing pictures of you two guys. I'm talking about the twins and and they're just going, this is incredible. It's so inspiring to people because this the healing of the nation. This is the healing of the nation, is this type of model, where you guys go back in and give it away, and it's just fucking the best.
So I appreciate it. You don't know how much is when you talked about your suicide attempt or the plotting of it. I did more than plotted it. So at about 15, 16, the same juvenile hall that I'm going in to teach was at cell 121, 2005, 2006. I hung myself in that cell. And it's not all the big, everybody's, it's the light. Don't go.
Good thing you didn't have a dog leash in there. You would have succeeded, man.
No, I made the noose, put it through the vent. And I didn't care about myself. I didn't care about my life. I didn't care about anything. I'm going to prison. I don't give a damn. It's just, I didn't care at all. I didn't value my life at all. And it's amazing. Some people, they run away from it. I'm big on, I want all the smoke.
Yeah.
So I went in there and I hung myself. They cut me down, sent me to the medical unit. And I was like, still didn't care. I was like, it wasn't, it's all big what everybody says. It's not no smoke and mirrors. No, it's a lot of pressure. Shit gets real quiet. And it's just you until the light fades, until everything gets real low and it's over. It's not a big charade. The funeral is the big charade. Yeah. But when it's you in that moment, it's just you. And you swaying back and forth. Ain't no mama coming. The hearing starts to go away. Yeah. It gets real quiet. And I messed up and traumatized myself because he's sitting there watching me hang, and I'm looking at him, and I'm just, you try to pull up. Yeah. You can't pull up because you don't have the strength to hold up your body weight because you're losing oxygen. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there, and the lady that I hated the most was the one that cut me down. So to be able to go back inside that very place where I was locked up at, the kids don't even know.
With some value. Go back in there with some value.
To save life.
You know what I mean? Yeah, with some value. That's what people don't understand, man. That's what people don't get about the incarcerated population is you guys have so much value, so much potential, bro. I mean, from the moment I met you, I was like, this guy's for fucking real, man. Can you imagine what he'd be like on the outside? You know, my brain was just spinning with like applications, you know, because you were like I just very much related. There was a lot of things right off the bat that I really wanted to emulate, especially how you made eye contact. There was a way you communicated in a way, almost like a confidence that you seemed to have in yourself that I always had to fake. I mean, I tried to bring it, but I always faked it. And I think the most beautiful thing that we get to do is expose to the world the true amount of potential that lives behind bars. And then when you really unpack it and you really get to look at you guys and think about all that you've been through, the amount of time, I mean, you defending yourself to the parole board, all that you go through to dive fucking head first, heart first into yourself and unpack all your shit, all the things you've done, all the people you've hurt, the drugs you've done, the addictions you faced, like all of it, you know, you've had to go in there over and over and over. And to be able to get through a long terms like you guys did in a like enveloped in darkness. Imagine what kind of fortitude that takes. And we live in a world where everyone's suffering and people don't know how to get through tough times. And you guys are professionals at getting through it. You know what I mean? Right. And I think that the coolest thing that we get to do is expose how important you guys are to our society, how important too, just from like a spiritual standpoint, this is Christ-like. This is what it is. We've lost sight of what it is to be there for other people who are downtrodden, people who aren't believed in, people who may have really shitty circumstances. We're holding on to this weird idea that like we have to look down on a lower caste people in society. Like we have to juxtapose ourselves from the incarcerated. We have to always have them near us as less than so that we can feel better about ourselves. Instead of going, oh, these are just children of God who have had fucking unimaginably difficult lives. And they want to continue to hold you down. They want to continue to like oppress you in the process. And, you know,
like the incarcerated population is the only segment of society that you can openly discriminate against today without any consequence.
Totally. I mean, not only openly, but it's the norm. If you do the opposite, you're kind of like, oh, I mean, you know how many, I probably have 500 personal Instagram messages that are like, why the fuck do you work with, you know, prisoners, with inmates, people that have hurt other people? They're like, why don't you work with kids? I'm like, we do. Kids that have hurt people. No.
And you said it the other day, you said it perfect when you were referencing me and Didontae, like, I'm not asking for pity. We're not asking for pity. We're not asking for anything. Let us just show you, like, let us just show you what like real change looks like. And we've talked about it, and we feel such like a moral obligation, a duty, because you know when you talk about women's suffrage, you needed women to stand up. You know, when you're talking about the civil rights at the time, you need African Americans to stand up. Well, we're in a prison reform movement. So we are the changed men standing up, saying like, this is what we went through. This is our story. This is an excuse. It's an explanation. Like, this is who we are. I don't want any handout. I just want the same opportunity, and I'll work double. I'll work harder.
Exactly. And we've lost sight of that. Somehow along the way, socioculturally, this has been the accepted norm. The norm is that we need to, for whatever reason, align you guys over here as completely separate from everyone else, because there was a victimization that was part of your past. And people don't unpack the thought process. They don't look at it and go, oh, does that mean we're just gonna, you know, you ask them, so would you rather just write this person off for the rest of their life and just never, and then people go, oh, well, no. Well, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing, you know, is in not giving anybody an opportunity. I mean, even the way the way crime is couched right now culturally out there in the world is we're letting too many people out of prison. They're committing crimes. We need to get back to mandatory minimums. We need to lock people up for longer. We need to keep people in prison. Their brains don't even pause on, we need to provide them programming so they don't go create victims and commit crimes.
Until it's a judge's son or daughter.
Right.
Until it's
Right.
a politician's son or daughter.
100%.
We all remember when Schwarzenegger went and got his best friend's son out of jail for attempted murder.
Yeah.
When he got him right out, he didn't go through the whole process of the court proceedings and none of that. He just, that's my friend. You're going through something? Go ahead, let him out.
Yeah.
The
whole way people think about crime and the incarcerated is ludicrous. If you actually give a fuck about victims, 75% of recidivism in the United States of America is 75%. Think of any business where what you do, like if 75% of the podcasts you guys did sucked, you wouldn't be a podcast studio. You know what I mean? So the criminal justice system, CDCR, BOP, all the rest of it, their success rate is 25%. That's a piss poor metric. That's a terrible success rate. And at no point is anyone looking at the process going, hey, while you have these people within your custody for decades as slaves under the 13th Amendment, they are yours to do with what you want. How about you provide them some programming so they don't commit more crimes? That doesn't even enter the equation. It's just, let's lock them up for as long as possible. Let's incubate them in negativity. Let's kick them out into the streets and then act shocked that some of them go commit crimes because they don't have opportunity. At no point in the logical train of ideas is, hey, well, while they're locked up, maybe we should, instead of incubating them in a horrendously negative environment, how about we, send some programs in there where we believe in them, and maybe some dogs that provide reciprocal love and self-worth and a viable skill that they can use when they get out, and a marketable skill that will allow them access to the middle class. None of that. It's just, let's keep them fighting with each other. Let's make it extra dark, extra dangerous, and then let's shoot them out into society to commit more crime. And there's never any culpability. Why is that?
Because somebody's tuition needs to be paid, somebody's Porsche needs to be bought, and a 16-bedroom house at the top of the hill needs to be paid for every month.
There's a lot of
and
money.
It's just a long, stale narrative that's just been going on for years.
Yeah, and I think if people viewed you guys as legitimate, I mean, like we talked about before, it's time to, instead of viewing you guys as liabilities, to view you as untapped potential, as just as a huge source of untapped potential. I mean, every single person I know that's had time to interact with both of you guys is like dumbfounded. They go, because you feel each of them moving past their preconceived notions. Everyone has a preconceived notion of what a formerly incarcerated person is. Yeah. And you feel them go, oh shit, I was wrong. Fuck. You watch people have these confrontations with themselves and they fall in love with you guys. You know what I mean?
That's why I love like having a conversation and sharing my life. And hey, by the way, I just did 29 years. I just got out. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you do that?
Are there more of you?
Yeah.
How are you able to talk like this? Like, am I supposed to be mutated, walk with a limp, and have a cockeyed or something? I'm just trying to understand what the hell's going on. You know?
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, you guys are, they don't view you as something or somebody that is supposed to be evolved or successful or any of these things. And the truth of it is, like, again, you are just like any of us with enormous potential to achieve any number of incredible dreams. And also bring, value to this world. And there, look at all the most influential people throughout our history, throughout our time. Those who have made the biggest impact were downtrodden, were misunderstood, were juxtaposed from normal society, and that's you guys, man. And I think that by you guys, with Strange Fruit getting out there and putting a voice to yourselves, we're not going to change anything until people fall in love with you guys, until society has this grand realization that, oh my God, we fucked up. I can't believe we've just been kind of lumping all these individuals together as just prisoners who almost serve to scare us, to entertain us on weird shows on TV, and to kind of like always be less than,
right.
To reintroduce you guys to society as givers and contributors and all the things that you really are. Because I don't know, it's really beautiful to watch people change their own perception of who you are and like grant themselves permission to fall in love with you guys. Yeah. I mean, we live in a Republican county that has a hard time with crime and like embracing the incarcerated. And I've had a lot of people message me with some of them like paragraphs, I just want you to know that I come from a Republican family and I voted for Trump and and I've had a really interesting, for as long as I can remember, I've had the following opinions on the incarcerated and I've been watching your program and they're like having this out of body experience where they're opening up lovingly to you guys, where they realize that they fucked up with how they prejudged you guys and how they prejudged the process. And they're opening up into love for you guys and about the program. And it's almost like people sharing at a meeting where they're like, I just want to, admit to you that I used to really think the incarcerated were pieces of shit. And, and now I think I love your program and I think I love them.
And like being like completely honest, there are people that belong in prison.
Oh yeah.
There's people that belong there.
Yeah,
we're not sitting here saying like swing the doors open. Like
you still got some boogeyman. Yeah, you still got some boogeyman in there. Yeah,
Absolutely.
you still got some of them people like, oh shit, you got to watch him.
Everything's a spectrum, right? In order to wind anything back, you need that much more energy put into that person. And some people some people don't have the willingness for sure. And some people, there's just never going to be enough time to wind back all the trauma and wind back all the negativity and wind back all the,
Let me give you guys a bar of this.
Yeah, let's go.
A bar of this. So this
is this from your little brother? Who's this from?
This from a couple. It's two of them, two of the kids in there, and it's one that probation doctor Rafael Ventura. He was letting you know about the kid that was the most shut down.
Shout out to Dr. Ventura,
who's now this young man is the lead trainer, and being able to be in the program and be now an employee there, I take it. I know I go above and beyond. If I'm gonna be in something, I'm gonna be 100%. I'm not gonna half-ass. I'm not gonna straddle the fence. So, not only am I their brother, not only am I their coach, teacher. Being in this program has taught me how much to value teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's hard. Yeah. Like, you're invested. You really have to. So I go in there and the kid was shut down first day. I apply pressure. The same transfers of energy that I have with the dogs to be able to understand that instinctual stuff outside of intellect. The instinct, I'm watching them. All right, what's going on? Let me apply a little more pressure. I'm going to back up, come forward a little bit.
Yeah.
He comes forward.
Come forward into my space. Yeah.
Then I back up. Come on, let me give you. Then I'm going to reward you because you deserve it, young man. I'm going to reward you. Now you happy. I'm more appealing to the palate. Then you come a little bit more. All right, now we need to go through this. And I'm going to apply more obstacles for you to go through. That's the mindset that a dog training program gave me to be able to, all right, let me do this.
Bro, you're giving him what you always needed in life.
Yeah.
For someone to give you.
You're building him for when that door does open, he's an asset to the community.
Right. Yeah. And so I'm going to court for this young man. Our producer of this podcast has a halfway house that this young man's going to get into. So when he gets out, he can go straight into a pipeline at a university.
There we go.
And now he, at this facility, just got his first paycheck he's ever gotten in his entire life. Inside the facility. And what is his title? Dog trainer.
That's right.
And working on the theory, one less criminal, one less crime, one less victim.
Yep.
That's the goal.
Let me before you get in, let me touch on that, because that was one of the things that I never thought about when I said it, but it resonates with every class, and I now do it with almost every class. Is first thing I do is walk in and say, from this point on, you're not inmates, you're dog trainers and dog rescuers. And just
animal advocates.
Yeah.
When you and Lisa called me an animal advocate, it may sound small, but like that was revolutionary to my mind. Like, I'm an animal advocate.
I'm no longer a number 2,
I'm not a
3, 7.
lifer.
Yeah.
I'm not the worst of the worst. I'm not a juvenile offender. I'm not a troublemaker. Like all these names. Like I'm an animal advocate.
Yeah. And the cool part about it, he walked up to me before the program started. Before we moved in there, he was like, he called me by my name. Hey, Buck. Hey, Swift. I'm like, what's up, man? We still, oh no, back up off me, white boy. You know what I'm saying? Back up off me. You're supposed to be over there.
Get too comfortable.
Talk from across that line, brother, because I don't know you like that. This could blow up somehow.
Yeah.
So it was still that iffiness. Like we know of each other, but we don't know each other because of racial boundaries, gang boundaries, Yeah. And he was like, can I ask you a question? I'm like, what's up? I said, man, I ain't never really had a dog before. I don't know what to do. I don't know what it's going to be like. I had dogs, I was running around with all type of dogs and stuff. And I was like, remember that bird that you had? Because he had a pet bird.
Nicki Minaj.
That's what he named the dog.
I was literally walking on the yard and a bird fell from a nest like in the kitchen, and I had it in my cell. I don't know how we got the name Nicki Minaj.
Why not?
Just you.
Why not? Yeah.
And I was like, the same way you treated that bird, treat the dog. But the dog's gonna be way more better.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna return it to you ASAP. And he was like, all right. know what I'm saying? And just went for it from there.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But this young man, he's come a long way. So we go to court and we advocate for him. So once again, the same court that tried me as an adult, I'm going in there to advocate for this young man. What are you gonna do if you had a second chance at life? Like, really, what would you do? Mm-hmm. So I have him put their title, Pawsitive Change Trainer. He has his name. I can't put that on here. And he says, what I get from this program is to always stay patient and never give up on the team. Also, be committed to whatever you're doing, and you can do whatever you want as long as you put your mind to it. Another thing I got was to be a leader at all times, and whatever you do. What my dog got from this is to be strong, and there's always someone here for you. Always just like me. Be a leader at all times. These skills can help other people. My name was like not caring for other people, thinking of them because I was the same way at one point. Also, just go all out on whatever it is, and don't forget, you can always learn from people. This is the most shut down kid. He quit the program 2 times.
Some of the letters, man, you know, I think people outside have typecast you guys as like walking around almost always suppressing your violent mindedness. You know, that's what it is to be somebody who is incarcerated, right? Is that you're always suppressing this, like, and all people have to do is read that handwriting. I mean, I've read so many letters from inside the program, structured inside like homework prompts, and some of them that are just back and forth between us, you know, and that's how you find a person's heart. That's how you see a person's conscience. And I fall in love every time I read those letters. Every time you fall in love with that person, because you get you're seeing their handwriting. It's coming from their hand, you know.
And you know, we've written those letters. Like, you're sitting at the end of the bunk when it's nighttime, when there's no sound. It's just you. You're not putting on the mask of who you gotta be to survive in there. It's just you pouring your heart out onto this paper. Like, that's like the purest form of communication.
It really is. There's nothing like prison correspondence or like responses to homework. There's something about it. It's so powerful.
And this is probably my second favorite kid in the program. So we have the first young man. So he has the structure. He has the leadership qualities. So, you know, along with pairing them up with, you know, a white has to go with a black, Hispanic, with, you know, the other races, I pair energies.
Yeah.
So I pair, he may be sensitive, but he may be having more structure. He has the ability to go the extra mile, to whereas he needs to be the one to be the soft one. And I tell him, learn from your brother. Learn from this. This is your brother. And it's nobody's individual dog. These are all our dogs. We are a pack.
I think what happens with the kids, maybe even more than some of the adults, is like we're so used to not taking care of ourselves. You know, like, we may think we do, but we really don't. The main problem is we don't give a fuck about ourselves. We really think poorly of ourselves. And when you think poorly of yourself, you act poorly. You don't have self-love. You don't have discipline, you know. So when you get involved with a dog, you have to love this thing. You have to love it. You have to provide structure. You know, all the things we need as recovering addicts: structure, rules, boundaries, discipline, affection, love, exercise. All of those things are what a dog needs. And when you start giving those things to a dog, you start giving it to yourself. So there's this, I'm going to learn how to love me by loving this dog. And that's what happens, I think, with everybody. Like, fucking everybody has this man in the mirror moment where they kind of give themselves permission to love themselves. Like, if you're going to do this successfully, if you're going to train this dog, if you're going to channel all your energy down this leash, this umbilical cord of a leash into this dog, it better be good. It better not be all the same thoughts and negativity that you're always putting out in your own head when it's just you. So everyone you're more conscientious. You're more conscious of what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're putting out there. And I think that's the real magic in all of it, is that when you start to rehabilitate and care for something, well, an animal, you are by virtue living for something greater than yourself. You are doing spiritual living now, just with that, because it's no longer about you. It's about this fucking thing that you're with, this alive animal that's capable of all these emotions that's with you now 13 hours a day that you have to completely turn your life upside down for. And more often than not, there's self-love learned in there. Right. You know, you learn to fall in love with yourself a little bit through that process.
Which is why I remember you guys saying like, what you get out of it is what you put in.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. If you just kind of dick around and love on some dogs, and you'll get some stuff out of it. You'll get some stuff out of loving on some dogs, and, you know, but if you really change your day to day to be in and around that life, then everything's going to change for you. I mean, people had, including, I think all three of us, had radical changes to our whole transom. Like the whole way I think about myself, how I think about life, you know, changed with Pawsitive Change. All of it. Like how I feel about myself, my potential in this world, my ability to be a leader, how loved I feel. Like something about the relationship we built that I don't hear I love you from other people the same way I get it from you guys. I don't, it doesn't sit well with me. It feels uncomfortable. I don't accept it, but there's something about what we've all done through this same like rebirth through dogs that I don't know, man. I hear everything you guys say. I feel everything, you know, there's this real special bond. And I think it all comes, you know, a lot of it is based in that we all kind of.
Well, no, the crazy thing about that, like when I tell people like Brian, that's my brother, I tell them Zach is my brother. It's not a business. It's my family. This my brother. Mm-hmm. I'll tell him, you ever see me and Brian get into it? Don't worry about it. That's me and my brother. Me and my brother can go in the backyard right now. We'll slug it out. And 10 minutes later, we'll be in mom's kitchen eating dinner. Yeah. Me and Zach, if we get into it, that's my brother. Don't worry about what me and my family got going on. You know what I'm saying?
1,000% emotionally committed.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean?
And that's the thing right there. Like that's he's met my family. Like Ray met, you know, he met my family. Like this is something different. It's something that's more when your soul is involved. Mm-hmm. When your soul is involved, it's another meaning. It's another definition. When it's just business, it's a cutoff point. No, this don't end. This doesn't sleep. When you eat, sleep, and breathe this continuously every single day, when I tell people, you know, I remember talking to you, and you said, you know, me and my wife cry about how you guys were treated in there. You never heard nobody say they cry for me. I done had people say, I'm happy that you in there. I done heard them say that. I heard people say, you know, I hope that you don't get out. I done heard, but I never heard a person say, you care that much to cry about me? You don't even know me.
And that's what I think what we had, and that all this is a direct result of the Pawsitive Change program. And that's all we were missing in our life. Like we were primed for change. Like we were there, like, you know, we were coming up on that point. We just, for me, and I feel the same was for Didontae, we just need a glimmer of something, like, you know,
something
when you come in, when you sit with us, when you remember when you shared your story, what I said, I walked up to you and I said, you just told my story.
I remember it. I remember like it was yesterday. Yeah.
Hey, what did I tell Zach when I first seen him? So let's go to so you have the before the program. Give him a little background of before you got into the program, because and then how people think it's just, all right, we're gonna have this guy going here and we're gonna get this program, we're gonna do this. No.
Yeah. There was so much, especially at Corcoran, there was so much involved with getting that yard ready.
So when you look at the prison, like prison is called the machine. The inmates, we call it the machine. When we work out, machine is in motion. The machine doesn't stop. The train doesn't stop until the whole workout is complete. No water, no nothing. So we look at the whole prison system on a yard from sun up to sundown. You get up, the bar lock comes down. You hear it, bam, it comes down. You hear the Mini 14 cock. You hear him popping out the thing, putting the non-lethal rounds in. The doors open, do. The machine's already going all day. Yeah. It's going. It's this, you know, Bob Marley, the slave driver. It's chugging along. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? What you brought in was a derailment to the machine. Yeah. Where
disruptor.
You showed men that you're not a piece of a machine. You are a human being. Yeah. And like just a little bit about to get to this program, I went years. I'm talking from 2005 all the way to 2016 when the program first came. Me and Brian, we had been in the same building. And the building that we were in the building with basically all the shot callers. Mm-hmm. Big dogs. Some of you know, snap of a finger, whole yard goes up. And he was all the way across the tier, and I was in the cell with the big homie. You know, I was in there with my guy. You know, and they had changed those yards, and right before they had swapped the yards, I went to the hole, and I was on the hole because he seen me go commit an act of violence on one of my peoples, and it was a long thing. It was a while. It was to the point that this dude was like, "Please stop." And after that, I felt bad because I never want people to see me in an act of rage like that. Like I got the Hulk veins tattooed on me because you know what he said. You don't want to see me when I'm mad, because it's like a switch that goes off in me. That's why I hate to get in a confrontation. I really don't want to get in a confrontation. There, yeah, but it's in prison. It does that. So if I have to do this, I'm gonna make a prime example out of you. So everybody else is watching. You don't want to get in trouble with him. And I was in the hole, and all these guys moved over there, and I got to the yard, and Miss Weaver had me come. She was there. You want to do the dog program? Fucking dog program. What the hell you talking about, a dog program? And it was already going up around the yard. You know, dudes are like, man, we ain't doing no dog. They finna teach them how to sniff drugs. I'm like, hey, dumbass, if you don't teach them how to sniff drugs, then they're gonna have to give us drugs. So that works for you, dummy.
Yeah, they're drug sniffing dogs. It's a conspiracy. Yeah.
I'm in the building. You know, I'm in there with Joker. So I'm in there, and he's like, they got the dog program over there. You want to do it? I'll go up to Miss Weaver's office. Miss Weaver, they got a dog program? She's like, you want to do it? I'm like, yeah, I like dogs. And it was at that moment that Joker seen how serious I was. And I was like, I'm going to go do the dog program, big bro. Hey, man, why would you want to do that? You got all this. You know what I'm saying? You in here with me. You know, you got all this. And I said...
Yeah, we were in the cool building at the time.
Yeah, I'm talking about,
all the luxuries of prison.
Everything. I'm talking about bada boom, bada bing. That's it right there. Like, and I said, I didn't move in the cell with you for everything you got. I moved in the cell with you because you're my homeboy. You're my friend. Yeah. I want to go over there because this is my passion. And he said, all right, go over there and lead then. Show me something. You know what I'm saying? Make it shake. So I went over there. And they came for the interviews, and that's when I met Lisa, and she had a old white fang. She had Hershey. Yeah. Hershey's a 3-leg dog. Yeah. And I went to reach down to pet him. She's like, ah. I was like, oh. She gave me the correction. I was like, oh.
yeah.
I just want to touch the dog.
Yeah.
She's like, do you know that dog? I was like, no. She said, well, why would you reach to put your hand in a dog's face that you don't know? Yeah. Why not ask the owner? And then when I asked her, she said, well, Hershey's kind of iffy. So once she told me that, I'm like, well, Hershey, you sit your ass down there.
To Sonar.
Take my fingers off. And we went through the whole process. And we had to go around for the dudes that you guys interview. We, as the inmate population, because nothing happens on the prison yard unless the inmates say so. There. So we went and we talked, went to this dude, went to these guys, all the shot callers. Hey, your folks finna be in here. And in this program, there's no politics. Yeah. And they're like,
make sure they bring it.
Yeah. So they're like, So then they have to go, this dude you chose, no, he's not going. This dude you chose, he's not going. So Brian was one of the ones that get a pass. He knows how to handle himself. Mm-hmm. This dude, he's giving a pass. This dude, he's giving a pass. So even though administration sees this, it still has to go through the inmate population. Mm-hmm. And that was why so much respect and sincerity was brought into it, because in this program, without the politics, men are allowed to be men without the imminent threat of something happening to them for making a mistake, without having to be perfect. You're gonna make mistakes, just learn from them. We want to be flawless, even all the way that we walk, the way that we talk, or the body type, the workouts, everything is meticulous. Yeah. And stumbled across a roadblock. So you guys are all down the tier. They have that section where it's nothing but the dogs. Everything's taped off. And it was the day before, 3 days before the dogs actually came. Police running there. The institutional gang unit, investigative service unit. So they come in, get down. They open my door up. They drag me out by my ankles. Come on. I'm like, what the hell? You're going to the shoe. What am I going to the shoe for? You'll find out when you get back there.
I remember that.
So I'm chugging in my underwear and my shower shoes, and I get back there, and it was just punched me in the gut. They said, yeah, you're back here for conspiracy to attempted murder on a correctional officer. some great American hero went and wrote up a whole page and a half summary, dipped it in the mailbox that got from the mailbox all the way to the warden's office.
Yeah.
And they said, keep him back there. Now, they can keep you back there for 6 months to a year.
Great American
Yeah, some
hero.
great American hero. And so I'm sitting back there and I'm like, damn, like I'm in the dog. I'm finna do the dog program. Like, what is? So I went through the 602 process. And
Yeah, they should explain that because if you get any sort of write-up, you can't.
yes, it's over.
Yeah.
So
that impacted us because we already like, okay, like we circled up. Like this is all cultural backgrounds, every kind of affiliation.
Yeah.
We said, we're going to do this. Like we made a commitment to each other. So what happened with him, it rippled through the program.
Yeah.
Like we felt it. Like, you know, we were
Makes sense.
advocating for him out there because it was a bunch of bullshit. Like
Yeah.
it was untrue. It just,
Sure.
right.
Yeah.
And then I'm out there, so you're back there in the shoe. So I'm back in the dog cage. So I tell people, you don't understand how me and the dog relate a whole lot different.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to be in that cage, pacing back and forth.
Totally.
Being on that chain and being walked on that chain out there because they have certain chains where they don't want you to touch them. So they put a bar on you. It's a long bar and it's connected to the thing. So they're just scooting you around. Here, little doggy, go on inside here. There you go. Be a good boy for the next 3 hours. We'll come and put you back in. And I see Miss Weaver. And I'm in the cage. Miss Weaver, I'm yelling. What's going on? I thought she left. About an hour later, Miss Weaver walks into the building, walks up to the cell. Hey, tomorrow you're leaving. What do you mean? I know you didn't do it. She said, but you want to go do the dog program? I said, yeah. She said, I'm going to put you back out there. Don't mess up. Don't make me look bad. Next day, going to the dog program. Week later, when I met everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it was,
Whew, I'm glad you made it in, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had somebody pulling for you on that side, you know?
yeah.
Oh.
I remember the first time the first dog, you know, at the point that I met you, I had been incarcerated. I was like on my 25th year at that point. And I remember this might have been a month or so before that, you know, I was coming in off the yard and there was a sign on the wall, Pawsitive Change, you know, dog training. And I'm at a place in my life where I'm open. Like I'm
Somewhat newly sober. Like,
yeah.
Just, yeah.
living in my change. I'm adopting new ideas. Like I'm trying to discard old beliefs. So I signed up, you know, knowing like there's no chance that they're going to bring dogs into prison. Like I've been in prison 25 years. The only dog I ever saw was like a drug sniffing dog or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was about a month later. I remember you came walking along like the front of the program through that fence area with that pit bull. And it was just crazy. You see Zach walking, and they're really specific on this yard. Like, you know, certain sections, like you just plain don't go.
Right.
Just nonchalant. He's walking.
cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, cool as it's the other side of the pit bull. He's walking with this pit bull.
Yeah.
So I'm working. I want to cross paths with you. And I remember I came up saying, "What's up, man? My name is Zach." You know, I said, "My name is Brian." And you know, I said, "I signed up for the program." He said, "Man, I really hope you're in there." And I said, "Hey, do you mind if I pet this dog?" You know, and I remember, like, you know, I've shared this a million times, like getting down there on the grass and petting that dog. Like it was a spiritual experience. Like, and I remember the dog had a gash on his head. I said, "What happened to his head?" He says, "Well, his former owner hit him on top of the head with a hammer."
Yeah.
With the hammer.
Yeah, that was Kira. Yeah.
Kira. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just in that moment, like, you know,
Then all the names, Kira,
Yeah.
Avery, Trooper, Shelby.
yeah.
You get all the babies.
Yeah.
But just like I always identify that as like the beginning, the embryonic stages of like healing in my life.
Totally.
Like that was such a huge moment. You know, it seems small. Like you bend down to pet a dog. Like I wrote about 20 letters and made hundreds of phone calls to let people know, like I just pet a dog earlier.
Yeah.
You know, met this dude named Zach, and
That part of what you just described is one of my favorite things to do is when we're going to new prisons and I get to bring dogs or even just go into other yards at prisons that we're at, because I'm not beholden to the politics that you guys have to adhere to.
And by the way, either are we. If I'm holding a leash with a dog, I can go anywhere in that yard.
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Everybody
good point to bring
wants
up, yeah.
the dogs. I'm
That's a
talking.
good point to bring up.
That's-
Places that are unheard of for me to walk, areas that are unheard of. If when I have my dog on a leash, I can walk in there and they'll come. You mind if I pet your dog? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now we're engaging in a conversation about the dog they had as a child. Now I'm making new friends.
Think about just how different that is. The littlest things that people take for granted. And keep in mind also, we're trying to prepare you for life on the outside. How do you prepare people for life on the outside? By keeping them racially segregated for decades. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look here, man. I remember when I had Griffin. True story. Look, I'm sitting there and I'm walking Griffey. Everybody loved Griffey. Remember Griffey, that little black lab pit mix I had, the puppy? Griffey was like the ultimate athlete. He's jumping over tables.
Yeah.
So I'm walking. And on Prison Yard, you have to go clockwise. You never go counterclockwise. That's seen as a security breach. He's like, he must be up to something. He's going rogue.
Yeah.
So we're walking, and I'm walking little Griffey. You know, I'm doing my thing. And the whites come over to me. Not only the whites, but the leader of the whites. And I'm belling. I'm like, man, what the hell this dude? He's like, hey, come here, brother. What the fuck, brother? Big ass dude. Hey, big brother. Fuck you mean, brother?
Hey, brother, all right, brother.
You know what I'm saying? He's
Like sounding like
walking,
Hulk Hogan.
Big dude, swastika on the forehead, Celtic cross, the whole, you know what I'm saying, made by blood, written to the whole.
Yeah.
He is the epitome of, you know,
Yeah.
like, you might as well be that, you know? Damn. So he walks up, he's like, man, I thought I would die before I seen a dog. It just did almost 30 years in the shoe.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, take him. And he takes him, and you see all these big dudes.
Just return to a kid.
Yeah,
Just
he's
become a
all
kid.
of them on
Yeah.
the ground.
Yeah. Just become a kid. Yeah.
They're like, you
And
know,
with that, everything's possible too.
Right.
Like in that moment where you get into anything's possible.
and then it was story after story. Like Andre Moore, who's still in there right now.
Mr. 2000.
2001, Dre. He would make specific foods for the dogs. He would go and study certain things to feed them. Like, all right, he was like the nurse for the dogs.
Yeah.
You know, then you had Lamson. Lamson was like, teach the dog the tricks type of guy right there. These guys going to do this trick, do that trick. And I remember one day, Dreamer was the oldest in the program.
Yeah.
Martinez.
I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah.
Been in prison since he was 14, did 30 years. And he was getting ready to go to the parole board. And everybody, when they get stressed or they have stuff going on, they always go to the gate where the dogs are at. Or they try to, man, I had a bad visit. I'm going to go over here with the dog. Or I had a bad day at work. And I remember he was getting ready to go to the parole board. And this goes to show how much the program is needed. How much it's needed. Not want. A want is a desire.
Yeah.
A need is something, a
100%.
need.
Yeah.
And he went to the parole board, and I seen him before he went. I'm like, hey, yo, Dreamer, like, you don't got your fresh clothes on. You don't have the book and all that to go to the parole board. The preparation. He's like, I'm gonna be back. Like, he got his yard clothes on, like he was just working out, and he left. He went to the parole board. He was gone for about 3 hours. Then he came back. Didn't go to the building. Didn't do anything. I was like, hey, Dreamer, what did they say to you at the parole board? He said, oh, they shot me down. But he said, it's okay. He went down there by the gate. He grabbed the dog.
Yeah.
He just pet the dog.
Yeah.
It's just petting the dog. And I'm like, what? You know, what?
Yeah.
You know, it's sad to say, and everybody's not going to make it out, but at least get him the
Yeah.
comfort
100%.
of what an everyday human being gets to have.
Being, what a the bare essentials for human living, you know, just to provide a little bit. That's the thing that I'm so surprised that we get resistance that we do, because that's it. Just that little bit of love.
That's all he
little
wanted.
bit of an outlet. You know,
You got to the man. He outlived his entire family, so he has no family.
Yeah. And how are you supposed to grow as a person if you don't have that base little bit of validation, that little bit of love, that little bit of belief,
Unconditional
that little bit of
love.
hope. Yeah.
In an environment where you're bred in, like, this stuff starts before we get to prison. You know what I'm saying? The institutional mind state starts before. It's already indoctrinated as a kid. Don't trust white people. Don't go talk to psychologists. Don't go talk to these people at this schoolhouse. Don't go take any type of medications. This is not what we do. This is within our culture.
Yeah.
Then you go into the school system. School system, no education. Then you go into juvenile hall. You graduate there. You go to YA. You graduate from YA. You go to prison. Within this, you say you trust nobody because everybody has told you those lies. Everybody has broken the trust. When they talk about go to therapy, who do you see before you go to the parole board? A psychologist. And they do a 4-hour just grill, asking you the most weirdest, craziest shit on earth. And they determine whether you go home or not. So why would I trust the person who for the past 30 years has got me denied parole but I can go with this dog.
Yeah. I hope people understand how easy it is for us to bring in dogs, to make that available. You know, to turn a prison yard or a pod into an animal shelter is extremely easy. The prisons are made to keep people in. Dog shelters are made to keep dogs in. All we got to do is basically, you know how it is. We just put in a few kennels and we make it work. We'll create a little alcove possibly for where the dog yard, and voila, you have a dog program yard. And for virtually nothing, you can bring individuals who desperately need it access to love, opportunity, hope, and humanization. Conversely, if you don't bring a dog program in or don't bring other programs in, you literally incubate people neck deep in negativity for decades and then unleash them on
and in the process, you get close to emptying out overcrowded shelters across the country. Like
Exactly.
when you have, I want to share,
100%.
like I've shared this before, but like with the program, it came to me at a point when I began wanting to change in 2011 when my grandmother had died. At this time, I was in solitary confinement. I did 9 years in solitary confinement. I was ultimately released on the Corcoran, the general population yard, in 2016. This is when I'm full of hope and wanting to change, wanting to do that, which is why I signed up for the program. So when these dogs come onto this yard, and I didn't realize it till actually the commissioner and the parole board identified it for me. I had never received, I'm living my life for my grandma. I'm trying to honor my grandmother, the way she raised me at that time. And I had never in my life received an unconditional love like I did from my dog Flynn.
Yeah.
Now, what that does to a person, that's why my level of gratitude and why I'm constantly trying to champion and advocate for this program. My story is not unique. My story is unique. There's so many people that are still in there that are, just as prepared for society as I am, directly because of that program.
Yeah, that's the building block. The first building block is you have to have some modicum of you have to be able to feel love for yourself and love for something else. And if that's why it's such a critical building block, you have that, then all things are possible from there.
Yeah. And for someone like me with zero self-esteem, who looked at myself as a piece of garbage, that's why I can completely identify when you say when these dogs look at you, they're ready for the day. They see the very best in you. And on top of it, after my family served this entire sentence with me, minus being in the cell. They've been to every visit room. So for me to spend these 14 weeks with the dog and train it and send my dog home, my mom adopted Flynn, which was my dog. So to send a piece of me home to my family,
it's invaluable.
What you do for them, what you do for my family, it's unbelievable.
Totally. Yeah.
Zach did what I'm doing to kids now. So remember when we used to we had the head of CDCR come in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember.
So they had all these people come in. What does Zach do? Didontae, speak. I don't want to speak. Didontae, look, man, I don't want to talk to these people. I do not like the police. You understand that, right? I don't like anything CDCR, and you got me over here speak.
To the suits.
And he was purposely pressure. Here, pressure, you can do it. And it was that little push that people need sometimes. I'm comfortable not talking. I ain't tripping. I'll sit over here. He made me feel uncomfortable and got over that threshold of stress and on to the next stage in life.
Which is the genius of the program, because you don't get the dog to the third week. Somebody was how come they're not bringing dogs? All the while you guys are watching us. Okay, he's a quiet, low energy day. We're gonna pair him up with this rambunctious dog, and this guy over here like opposites,
Yeah, the way Lisa and Leah, they were professional.
Genius.
Listen here, Leah Marquez, bad mama jamma. I love me some Leah, love me some Lisa.
So, born natural trainers and leaders. 100%.
Leah, 120, 23, 24. I ain't gonna put a 5 on her. I'm gonna give her extra weight that she needs to come into a prison alone, level 4 prison.
Yeah.
And to train and to have to be able to catch the attention of men.
Yeah.
And to be like, this. She not soft. You know what I'm saying?
No.
And that's not what they need. You need to look, let me give you this. You mess up, don't do that. Do it like this.
She let me be soft. That was the other wonderful thing is they got to be hard. They got to be the feminine energy, but they were the alphas of the group.
Clearly in charge.
And that's that intensity. Like,
And I got to be loving. I got to go in and talk about my story and hug on everybody and dap everybody up. And yeah, I mean, having them be able, I don't want to say like good cop, bad cop, but be able to have those different energies, because you had to keep, we're still dealing with a large group of people that have to be pointed in the same direction.
Right.
So we had to have, and they were just perfect at that, and that's my favorite thing about Pawsitive Change is that the whole energy of all of it is contrary to all of the energy that's being cultivated in there, is that we get to bring in just straight up love and brightness. And I get to be as loving as I need to be with you guys. Like, I know it's still very frowned upon and I get shit for it all the time, but I get to go in there and just be love. I get to go in there and look people in the eye, tell them I love them, tell them I believe in them, tell them I'm proud of them. Yeah. I get to bring dogs in. I get to do laps around the yard and go visit pods that have nothing to do with the dogs. And
you know what, Zach, I'm glad that we got a platform to be able to speak like this openly. And I'll say this. If you can't put on your shoes to get up and do what Zach Skow has done, don't sit around talking bad about him. Don't make him no talking point or none of that type of stuff. Because if you haven't did it, you ain't walked that walk into that prison, you ain't took your dog and gave it to somebody that's in prison and trusted them with them for 16 weeks. You're not showing up to the courts like John Flores did. You're not signing off, making us certified trainers like Lisa Porter and Leah Marquez have did. You ain't doing that like Ty Frias has came in there and did it. Please don't cast judgment on this man, because he's doing... Yeah. He's Superman, and not every Superman wears a cape.
Yeah, man, he is for sure. 100%.
And that's the secret sauce of the program as well, are the relationships that are built.
Totally.
The personal ones.
Totally.
It's
everything.
We were in the building for what, maybe a couple of years together in that yard?
Never talked.
Walked by him a million times, gave the universal head nod.
Yeah.
Not that we had a problem with each other, but there was no reason to talk.
Yeah.
He's from a different car, different ethnicity, the whole nine. Yeah. And in that kind of environment, there's no reason for us to talk. But who would have known?
Yeah.
Look at this. Like, it would not be possible.
Yeah.
Man, we had karaoke night one time.
Before me.
We had karaoke at night one time. I swear, when I look at us, I'm like, it's like Gillian Wallow for some reason. Man, he got Sheldon in the shell. And he's in there. I hear the music playing. I hear that Justin Bieber. My mama don't like you, and she likes everyone. And so we down there vibing because we have all the guys. We get out there and chill. And it's just all the different cultures. Like, I haven't tasted Asian food till I went to Lamson Cell. Yeah. My partner that I had before Brian in the first round, he said, I never talked to black people till I...
But imagine how that better prepares you for life on the outside.
It was
too,
beautiful.
Yeah.
He's in the cell singing. And we out there chilling. That's when I was like, man, this brother he got a little chocolate in him, because he, first he could play basketball, then he down there singing Tupac and Mozzie and all that. And the door must have slid open. Man, this fool must have came out of here. He had took the lamp, made a headband, the little flexi lamps. Yeah. He had it hooked up to his face with the light on, and he was doing karaoke. Justin
Bieber. He's
the mic.
Yeah.
It's these moments that you get to share, and it's like,
and I've never had that. Yeah. Like, you've never had these moments of just like calm and peace.
Yeah. You're just always
your
fucking
entire
like
life
that.
is there. You're in fight or flight mode. You're in survival mode. Like,
how is it that our society, our culture can look at the way prison is set up naturally? How is it that any rational person can look at the entire spectrum of incarceration and go, no, yeah, that's what we're looking for. That's exactly what we're looking for, is to keep them locked in a concrete, inorganic, dark as fuck place where we're just basically guaranteed to make them worse human beings and then kick them out into society. How is it that we can look at that as though it's well structured, or as though it's something near what we need it to be? Even just the racial component. Most people, when I bring that up, they go, what do you mean? I'll talk about you guys or something, and they'll be like, what do you mean they couldn't talk? And I was like, well, racially. I go, well, what do you mean? When I explain that it's like rigidly racially segregated, they go, like now? Like today? I was like, yes. And people have no idea.
Yeah. Not because we don't want to.
No, it just is. It just is what it is.
Like, we came in and it just...
The prison system in California is as rigidly segregated as Jim Crow South ever was.
Until you
The
bring
machine-
7 dogs in.
The machine has been in motion.
Yeah.
And Zach came in and threw a monkey wrench in the machine, and it backfired.
But we got to keep throwing monkey wrenches in there. We got to keep talking about it and keep really letting people know about it out there. Because if people really do, care about crime, then you care about why people go out and commit crimes. They go out and commit crimes because they don't have access to hope, opportunity, or rehabilitation. If you take a legitimate effort to rehabilitate people and provide them with fucking love and hope and belief, just to believe in somebody, like why we all bonded is I believed in you guys, but you guys believed in me. And that's why we have this energy. And then we need a whole lot more of that instead of what we have currently, which is you're not good enough. You're never going to be anything. This is what you are, deal with it.
And it's not one of those things that people are like, oh man, they all go to Zach. They all go to Zach. Zach, this. Nah. I call Zach. Like, what's going on? I'm good. Nah. What's going on up top? How you feeling up top? I genuinely want to know, like, where your brain at? Where's your mental health at? Because you take on everybody's story. You take on everybody's battle. You take on all these battles. Is in rescue work, it's nasty.
It is so nasty. One of the toughest part for rescue and for working to advocate for the incarcerated and the formerly incarcerated is you guys can't talk and the dogs can't talk. You're not hosting podcasts in prison. So by default, I got to be the one articulating like on behalf of you guys and on behalf of the dogs. And I'm scared shitless. This was not I've never been comfortable speaking publicly, like being outward. I got better at it over years, but it's very uncomfortable putting myself out there. And people really do. They take profound shots at you, and this hasn't brought me money. This hasn't brought me anything in life but a purpose. And it's really, really hard to do. And people don't understand that you got to put yourself out there. If you care about it, if you love about it, if it's your purpose, you got to get out there and speak on it. And it's really uncomfortable because I don't want to do anybody wrong. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to misrepresent things. I'm trying to speak from what I know, what my experiences are, but sometimes I get nervous being out here kind of representing on behalf of. In
a world where everything is so squeaky clean. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I purposely, like for Instagram, for instance, I purposely make myself vulnerable. I purposely do it because everybody's so used to seeing all this perfect perfection.
Yeah.
And you're teaching them how to be perfect.
Yeah.
But even a Persian rug is made with a flaw. Because perfection is only provided by God, if you want to look at it from that aspect. So you can't portray perfection in a world of complete flaws. People need to see you're going to make mistakes. You're going to trip. You're going to fall. You're going to do something in his life. They need to see that so they can feel it, so they can say, all right, he's been through it. They've been through it. Them as a collective been through it. You got Hispanic, white, all this. We all been through it. And we standing right here to say, look, bro, we got your back. Tell the dog, come on.
Yeah.
The situation we had, Building 5 was where the dog program was at. There was a racial, like a melee, like a 20 on 20. And we heard about it in our building. And the entire yard is closed down. We're in the dog program, so we come up regardless because we have animals to care for. And I remember quickly, we all came together and said, look, we don't know what happened over there. We don't know what happened. This is our Pawsitive Change family right here. They've trusted us, and accountability was not even something in my vocabulary, like responsibility, but it's just like I didn't fully understand those concepts yet, but we just knew what felt right. And we came together. Remember that?
Yeah.
And we said, we're not going to do nothing. Because when the doors open, we had 100 people in all the cells watching.
Like
These dudes are going to
it's
slaughter
like-
each other right
to
now.
see what would happen.
And we refused.
They put us on the spot. They're like, give them enough room to hang themselves.
Yeah, right.
Open up all the dog doors first and see what they do.
Right.
So it was like,
And they were
When
all
they-
standing there, pepper spray. They had the guns
Ready to go.
We walked
Yeah.
out, gave each other hugs. We all sat down together. This is the worst, yard,
Man.
because we cared so much about what we were doing. Like we had a responsibility
sure that
to the dogs
resonated.
and to each other.
through that whole spot.
And it was such a powerful moment that even like the underworld, the powers that be in prison,
Yeah.
they said, wow.
Okay.
You can't help but
All right then.
respect it.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, how am I going to jump? Like, this dude is I train a dog with this guy. We work together. Like, who's gonna take care of our dog? Like, how am I
His
gonna
families.
punch?
I met your mama. We was just out here in the visiting room. Like Armando, I went out there and called Armando Ortiz, alumni. I went out there and called Armando. I went in there and I said, hey, Mama Weasel.
Yeah.
She said, boy, did you just call me a weasel? I said, I didn't raise my son to be no weasel. His name is Armando.
Give him a new name.
Call him now get over here and eat some of this food.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, Mom, it's cool. We're going to sit down and eat this food. Even when it was tension on the yard and people wanted to go act out in violence, you know what they'd do? Hey, prison is going to be prison. Hey, can you put the dogs up? Can you take the kids inside? Because we don't want them to see this. We don't want to upset the dogs.
Yeah.
We don't want them to get riled up. And you're like, wow. Like it's
Yeah, the violence like dramatically decreased on that yard.
I mean, the racial component is affected. The sobriety component is affected. You can talk to correctional officers and not be suspect about it. You can talk to one another without it being suspect. But the dogs provide this scaffolding for growth in every possible way, in every possible avenue of life, from sobriety to working on yourself to redirecting the trajectory of your life. It all changes with the dogs.
And it never ends. It continues on.
Exactly.
Just the
And
other
it can
day-
go on forever. And that's what people need to know about the dog program. It isn't just people, it isn't just guys petting dogs. It is you bring that in and there is growth in every aspect of where you want growth. And if you keep it there, I mean, imagine if we would still have that program going at Corcoran right now, man. We'd be rehabilitating the worst of the worst. It'd probably be like a seminal yard. They'd be writing stories about it and trying to create other yards off of that. And that's what I want people to know is there's no reason why we can't have this in every prison.
Is there a lot of resistance? Do you get a lot of resistance to bringing the program into prisons?
No, it's just not anymore. One, since we operated out with you guys, people are like, oh shit, they can do it anywhere. If they can do it at Corcoran, if they can do it at that spot at Corcoran, then they can do it anywhere.
And we did 2 rounds, by the way.
I told Zach when I want the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
He said, bring me the worst. I want the worst of the worst. And watch what we do with
And
it.
that's what we were able to do at Cal City, at North Kern, at these places that were open for 6-7 years. Is they got really, really, really good. We've had guys that have been in for 11 rounds in a row. And they're just incredible dog trainers. And it's so. I mean, the real model of it, if we really look at what's going wrong with the animal sheltering system, is fucked. The animal sheltering system is completely broken right now. Large dogs are the first ones euthanized, large young dogs, because they take up space, they're reactive, they're not good on leashes, they're like all of us, right? They don't have what it takes to be adopted, and if they do get adopted, they come back. So those are the ones that are euthanized. So we're spending all of this money to catch large dogs, to bring them into the shelter, to pay people to take care of them, to shelter them there, to feed them, and then we put them to death, right? And then similarly, we got this entire population of individuals that desperately need rehabilitation, all the things we talked about, exercise, boundaries, discipline, affection, all those things. So the humans need the same things that the dog needs. And if we had that type, if you can take that broken prison system and that broken shelter system and combine the two, and you will cancel out an enormous amount of expenses. So you will eliminate billions of dollars in expenses because one is now scratching the back of the other and vice versa. But right now we're euthanizing tens of thousands of large juvenile dogs just in California, and the only hope for dogs like that is through training. They're not going to have any hopeful outcome unless they get trained.
Can you shine a light on? I'm the bully guy. I love the pit bulls.
Yeah.
You said something one day. You said a pit bull has a certain percentage chance of being euthanized, and then a black dog has a certain percentage. Now, a black pit bull has what are the likelihoods?
It's 50% each time. So pit bulls are 50% less likely to be adopted than
Just
other
off
dogs,
breed.
just off breed, and then black dogs 50% less likely than that. So
black pit bull.
black pit bulls are virtually unadoptable. Yeah.
Hey, remember we did this one time? There was a guy that says, I don't want to go nowhere near dogs. I had a bad experience. I'm scared of them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was you. We said, let's try and experiment with this. We had a little dog right there. He went in the cell. We put the pitch black. We made it pitch black. He was sitting in there. We said, we're going to send him in. We send a pity in. I don't know. Remember if it was Gem or something? And he's petting the dog and it's pitch black. He's petting the dog.
Gem.
And he's loving the dog. We flip the light on and it's the pit bull.
Yeah.
But this whole time he's thinking it's the little dog.
Yeah, we had sat down
His
and we were-
perception.
What a
immediately.
brilliant experiment.
We came with the cons because I used to go on some crazy little I used to be up all night. I had a hard time sleeping, so I used to be up in there. Man, this. I remember one time I asked him. I said, "Let me ask you a question, bro." It was like 6 a.m. He was getting ready to go to work. I'm like, come here. He's like, man, what do you want? He's still sleepy.
Yeah.
I was like, when you turn the light on, what leaves first? The darkness or does the light come in?
Yeah, this is what it's been the story of my life with him.
He was like,
Yeah.
what leaves and what comes?
I'll get back to you on that.
Exactly. So he thought about it. So I was like, when people judge a dog or they judge a breed, I was like, well, you take a dog, and I was talking to John. I was like, take a dog. Grab the dog, put him in there, turn the light off. Doesn't know. All he knows is there is a dog. And that dog is loving on you, licking all on you and all this type of stuff.
No therapy in the world like a puppy licking
Nothing.
your face.
Turn
Like
the light
no
on.
rehabilitation.
He sees the dog, it's no longer, oh, pit bull. No, it's it's Gemma.
Yeah.
You know, it's the big, I love that dog so damn much.
Gemma's a special
I'm
one.
talking about, she was just.
So let me wrap up the like, because what I've been thinking about lately since we had dinner the other night is the
Good.
potential of
Dinner with 8
formerly
Pawsitive Change alumni.
Over 130 years combined in incarceration at one table.
and still young handsome men, you know.
Thank you.
I mean, so I keep thinking about the 90 to 100 billion dollar prison industry, the 30 billion dollar animal sheltering industry, and that both of them are completely broken, right? 75% recidivism. I mean, you couldn't be more broken than that. If 75% of the people that you take care of end up backfiring and ending up back in here, why are we not completely obliterating the model that you currently use? And what we already talked about is that, I mean, we could have dog programs on every single yard. To just bring in a dog program probably costs $3,000 to convert an entire, that's 10 dogs every 14 weeks that we could just turn over nonstop. We could fix the animal sheltering problem in America if we combine these two entities. We would bring America to no kill, less than 10% euthanasia of healthy dogs if we merge the two. We could cut recidivism probably by 33% just by the jobs provided through the pet industry. What the incarcerated have needed forever is a robust economy that's willing to accept them for who they are, right? To believe in them, to understand their worth. And they've talked about it with, I mean, you can't have 2.5 million short order cooks. You know, you got to have a legit economy like they've talked about the oil and gas industry being receptive, which they really weren't. They talked about renewables being receptive, which they kind of really weren't. There's all these different economies that have talked about bringing in the incarcerated, right? And then we got the pet industry. The pet industry increased by 25% during COVID. It's $100 billion industry. It's 3 times. We know how many brothers want to, and are inside that want to be involved in the music industry when they got out. It's 3 times bigger than the entire music industry combined, touring, all of it. And the potential within that pet industry is enormous. It's those guys like yourself who understand what it's like to be advocating for yourself in prison, hustling for yourself in prison, prior to prison when you're out on the streets. That translates to dog training seamlessly. And then what happens when that occurs is access to the middle class, is formerly incarcerated individuals in an economy that they can survive in, that they can thrive in, and that they can access the middle class through. You know what I mean? So if we expand Pawsitive Change and if we get it to where it needs to be, we can completely change the system of incarceration as we know it today. We can change the face of the pet industry as we know it today. And we can so not only account for all of this opportunity in the industry, but all of the growth that comes with the dog program. You know what I mean? And that's the magic of it all. And we just really need someone or a lot of someone's to understand that that's the value and to give us what we need to get there, because it's pennies on the dollar. When we're talking about the amount of money that's spent on incarcerating people, it's pennies on the dollar. The return on investment for the dog program is an ROI ratio that like nothing has that good of a ratio. For the few dollars that it costs to run this program, you're changing fundamentally the lives of real human beings who have real family members, real kids, real parents. You're breaking the cycle for them. You're also, a lot of the communities that we struggle to bring up in terms of animal sheltering in the rescue community are communities where you guys are from. Right. How the fuck are we going to infiltrate those communities, change those communities, get them culturally brought up to speed if we don't have people like them educating in those communities. It's got to be a FUBU model where it's people that are from that environment that are going back in and helping educate, and I'm telling you, we already are changing the world, but we could change the world in an absolutely profound way by getting this program into as many prisons as possible and having you guys be the ones that are the face of it. Because unless we socioculturally alter how people feel about you guys and really have them understand who you are, we're not going to make any progress. They're always going to compartmentalize you guys over here. You're always just going to be fucking murderers and convicts and all the rest of those statements. But when you guys get out there and show people who you are, you see people's gears turning. And what I'm really proud of is like how many people we've converted to understand your potential and to get to see you guys for like what I get to see you guys as, and we just got to keep getting out there and keep doing these podcasts and keep talking.
All started from a man walking on a dog with a yard. Yeah. Everybody hear the clinking and clacking because we got dogs in here.
Yeah.
Can't have her studio without having dogs here. Cannoli, I'll see you, boo. Come on.
Big girl.
She going back to her dad.
But, if I could say one last thing, like just on a personal level, like I'm so thankful for you having this idea. Like, like it gave me hope at a time when I needed it, which like rippled into my family. Like the dog that I trained in prison, I still walk every morning today.
2 of them.
2 dogs, actually. Mm-hmm. I gained this guy. He paroled a year before me, wrote me letters. We talked, we called. When I got out, he got me a job. Like just been on so many levels. There's so many layers to this program.
Is.
Like
we need to do like a 3-part series on this shit.
Yeah.
We really do. We should probably like literally do this in 3 parts and talk about like segments of our existence and like how it got here. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I really hope people understand that this dynamic, what we have and what we've been able to, it's unique and it's very special, but it's not something that, it's something that can be recreated out there for thousands and thousands of more individuals, who find their own on the outside, because of a program like this.
Before we conclude this, Zach.
Yes, sir.
What do you want? What do you want to see for yourself, Marley's Mutts, Pawsitive Change, and for the men inside coming outside? What do you feel would serve these individuals in a totality coming back into society?
My goal in this work is to basically make this program ubiquitous. The best way there's 2.5 million incarcerated Americans right now and 11 million children directly affected by those incarcerated.
Repeat
2.5 million Americans. There's more Americans incarcerated in California than any other country in the world. They're just mind-boggling statistics,
Kids?
11 million children are directly affected by incarcerated parents, by the 2.5 million incarcerated Americans that there are. So my dream is to make this ubiquitous, you can't say the word prison or prison facility without also talking about the dog program there. And I'm not talking about puppy programs. I'm talking about a program that you dive into spirit first and unpack yourself, hold on. And I'm not saying everyone needs to get involved in the pet industry. That's not necessarily feasible, but the growth and the productivity and the self-actualization and the self-criticism and the self-esteem that comes with the dog program, there's nothing like it. And the integration racially, from a gang perspective, from a racial perspective, all of those things. There's nothing like the dog program. Forget the actual job that's waiting for you when you get out if you plug yourself into the program. That's also there.
Yeah, I came home with a marketable skill that I use today.
Exactly. A marketable skill in the fastest growing recession-proof economy on the planet. The pet industry was only a $30 billion industry like 8 years ago. It's just every year growing, and it's recession proof. It is the only recession proof juggernaut economy that we have in America. And the beautiful thing about it is that it was essentially built on second chances. Animal sheltering, rescue, you're providing second chances to animals that need it. You know what I'm saying? Just like we provide second chances to animals who need it.
Right. So I want to wind this down. I want to exit this with a lesson that my brother right here taught us one day. and it was in Corcoran, right there in that building. I walked up to him. I was frustrated, and I said, "Man, you know I love dogs, but I hate humans." And he looked at me, and he checked me like a brother should. He said, "I don't ever want to hear you say that. Humans need each other. Yeah. We need each other before we can get to the dog." Mm-hmm. I needed him before I got my dog. I needed Brian before I got my dog. We had to have an understanding. Everybody's, the animal. The animal, when they get around each other, they speak their language. Humans are the only ones that act outside of nature, act outside of communicating with each other, that act on hatred. We're the only ones that go against the grain of what it is supposed to be that we do inside. We go against our will over our ego. So let's not associate hatred and associate love, because that's love conquers all. No matter what you say, love is gonna get it all done. So with that, before Brian gets to Kahooing and all that, you better not.
I can't believe we made it through.
Let's go part 2 and part 3.
Yeah.
Just want to thank my bro.
Schedule it.
And this is Strangest Fruit. Did everybody ever want to ask what this is about, what we have going on here? This is what it's about. People loving people, communicating, not all the arguing and creating a spectacle of each other. No, this is how grown folks talk. You dig what I'm saying? So let's spread the love and keep it going. And Zach, appreciate it, bro.
I love you guys.
Love you, bro. Love you, Brian.
Right,
you know what time it is, fool. Yes, sir. Love you too, bro. Get up, lazy.
Dang.
On up there.
I'm over here stuck on the dog.
Look at her. She's
We're gonna have to do a 2 and 3, man. We can talk forever. They're gonna make me cry on a fucking prison podcast.
Who's his trainer? What's up with that dog?